All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Untitled Chapter. So obviously, one of the biggest topics in the fitness industry right now is the Calum Von Moger incident where he was doing some kind of cliff jumping, and he ended up dislocating his kneecap and rupturing his quad tendon. And keep in mind, this is in addition to the bicep tear that he suffered, I guess, a couple months ago now, when he attempted to curl 405 pounds in conjunction with Chris Bumstead. So they were both over, basically what most people's max deadlift would be, on a straight barbell loaded with 4 plates on each side, and they tried to curl it tandemly, and he ended up tearing his bicep doing that. So the main question is Calum Von Moger's career over? Now, I think the answer to that question is going to be both yes and no. So yes, in the regard that this leg injury, the bicep injury, that's probably going to put a significant setback on his intention to compete in the Olympia. I mean, he said before his main goal was to get to the Olympia stage and compete in classic physique. So I think the bicep thing combined with this leg thing, I mean, this is going to be a significant hindrance to him. And from a time frame standpoint, I think competitively it's going to set him back significantly. And from a physique standpoint, I think it's going to take away from his physique tremendously in terms of his overall balance. I don't know if it's something he could ever come back from in terms of having completely equal, one arm to the other biceps and completely equal one leg to the other quadriceps, having torn one quad and one bicep. I think there's always going to be some kind of visible difference on each side of his body. And as we know, one of the main points of judging in bodybuilding is going to be the symmetry of the physique. So how even each side of the body is and how proportional each side of the body is. I think that's really going to throw off his proportions and symmetry. So I think whereas before he really did have potential to be very successful in classic physique, I think he could have gone to the classic physique Olympia, not necessarily won, but I think had he made it to the classic physique Olympia in 2018, we could have certainly seen Calum Von Moger in that top 6 call-out. I think he would have been a threat to the show. I don't know that he would have necessarily won it. Having it been his first Olympia, I think he would have done pretty well, though. He does have the classic physique structure, and he has the height on his side as well, which seems to be an advantage for people that are competing in classic physique. So competitively, yes, this may have ended his competitive career or potentially set him back significantly towards, how he could have done had he never been injured. Now, that being said, I watched a couple of videos where people were talking about his injury, and I think people were being a little bit too hard on him, saying, what was he doing jumping off this cliff anyway? If I were a bodybuilder, I would stick, strictly to bodybuilding. You shouldn't do anything else that's dangerous. I don't necessarily agree with that. Calum Von Moger isn't strictly a bodybuilder. This guy is a massive social media person. I mean, honestly, his career isn't bodybuilding. It's being, on social media. It's selling his clothing. It's selling his brand. It's advertising and promoting himself. And obviously, I will agree that, the trying to curl 405 pounds, that was a pretty stupid move. When you're curling 400 pounds, I mean, you've got to expect there's a high probability that you could get injured. But something like rappelling off a cliff, I think this was simply a freak accident. It's kind of silly to say, what was he doing rappelling off a cliff? He's a bodybuilder. He's got to think of his body first. And while I do understand that logic, I mean, clearly no one goes rappelling off a cliff thinking about injuring their, patella tendon. So people that are calling him stupid and saying he shouldn't have done it, I don't really agree with that. He could have never predicted this was going to happen. He was certainly doing it for his Instagram. I mean, he was filming the thing. And his main business, like I said, is promoting himself on Instagram. So I don't really blame him, because essentially what he was doing was a publicity stunt for his Instagram to get views, to get likes, to get attention. I mean, that was the goal, and that's his business. And unfortunately for him, it just happened to go severely wrong. So I think from a social media standpoint, his career is never going to be over. I mean, he's always going to be Calum Von Moger. He starred in that movie Bigger, playing the part of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think he's probably got a tremendous career ahead of him in terms of maybe some acting or mainstream film roles. And he's always going to have that presence on social media. I think, the video of him falling off the cliff alone, I think that got 1.5 million views on his Instagram in just a couple of days. So I think a large majority of his followers probably won't really care whether he ever competes again or not, or probably won't care how good he does if he does compete again, because they follow him because he's Calum Von Moger. They don't follow him because, this is how he placed at this show. They follow him because he's a character. He's a social media character. So I think, honestly, he'll be fine. He'll come back from this. Probably not come back in a competitive sense, but as Calum Von Moger, the social media guy, I think he's going to be fine. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about Calum Von Moger and how injury prone he seems to have been. Please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.